Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. I'm Armando F. Sanchez, and it is just an honor to have three professionals in the world of technology education on our program today. Each one has a different kind of background, and I invited them to be on our program and share their thoughts. My personal view, at least at this time and moment, is that as we're moving into the 21st century, further and further in, more AI, more systems, more sensors, more things are being put in, that maybe it's true. Maybe it is true that we don't need any more electronic and wood working and woodworking and different shops at the school level, whether it be middle school, high school, or above. That maybe the whole idea is that we should eradicate all of them and take all the students and just make sure that they all go for a 4-year college education. Well, that's my premise for this discussion here. And today, let's begin to, first of all, introduce our guest today. We're looking at Joe Petito. Joe Petito, he is a middle school teacher out in the, what I call the aerospace area of Southern California. And he's near the airport down there. And he is in a classroom trying to teach the class without any students being there, or virtual as well. Number two, we have Kurt Hahn, Mr. Kurt Hahn here. I think he's rebelling against barbershops. So he's letting everything go. When he says, I'm going to let my life go as a new retiree, I didn't think he'd go that far with us as well. Mr. Hahn, are you there somewhere?
Somewhere.
Oh, there you are. Whoa, man, like I shared with everybody, we do have our barber shops open here in California. So just in case, a thought in there. Mr. Hahn, you retired as a teacher, electronics teacher here in the LA area. And I understand you also work for the aerospace industry, and you were also part of the military as well. So I want to thank you for that service that you did for our country, as well as being part of the educational system, teaching electronics at the high school level from 9th through 12th. And you've been now retired a little bit more than 1 year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Manuel Franco. Mr. Manuel Franco has been my mentor, my friend, as well as Kurt Hahn here. We've known each other for many, many years. And Manuel has always assisted me in wherever I'm sort of confused. And whenever I'm in trouble, I turn to Manuel and he tells me how he got out of trouble. But he keeps reminding me he is still in trouble. So, but he's in trouble because he's always doing great things. He's always moving and shaking and trying to improve the educational system, as well as being a community leader. Manuel Franco, are you out there with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Manuel is also very closely tied to a Catholic high school, which is also the technology side, Bosco Tech, which is in San Gabriel, California. And as a fellow Salesian, we talked about this issue and the importance of shop teaching and shop classes and where the future is going. So with that, let me begin again with the question that we started this whole discussion, and then we're going to all start giving our 2 minutes intro, and then we're going to start the discussion here. My perception is, from what I'm reading with all the 21st century technology development, especially in AI, the whole idea of having shop classes, i.e. repairing cars, handling metal shop, wood shop, all these classes are really no longer needed, because we should really be focusing our kids to be looking after getting a 4-year college degree in other areas as well. It's a general statement. I'm not saying that we're going to go this route, but it seems that that's the momentum. Shop classes are reducing themselves little by little. So that's the premise of today's discussion. Let's start with Manuel Franco. Give him his 2 minutes of intro, and then we'll move on with Kurt and with Joe.
Well, it's interesting because specifically in my relations to Bosco Tech, who back in the 50s started with a focus into shop classes. So everything was called a shop. There was a total of 5, 6 shops focused into different areas of the trades, we'll call it at that point. And the focus was to train at the high school level students so that they could be prepared to come out and not only work, but also manage. The focus was to direct them into managing those areas so that when they came out, they can go into the industry and were prepared enough to start to jump into the management side of it, and also continue into college and universities if they wished, so they could be prepared to lead the industry with the principles that the tech put, which is primarily technology, the use of technology in peace and social justice. So with that, we've seen the change currently that those technologies, now they're not called shops. Now it's called technologies because they're trying to change and shift into what the world is. We started back in the second industrial revolution, roughly. Now we're into the fourth and fastly going into the fifth industrial revolution. So everything's changed, and those are the things that we need to really understand and focus to make sure that the change or the adaptation continues in the right direction. And there's a number of points to bring out in that. So thank you.
Thank you. Joe Petito?
We translate from era to era, okay, like Manuel's talking about, so into the fourth, fifth generation of technology. But in order to bring on this new technology, you have to have everything you had before to support it. And the cliche is bricks and mortar. I can look down the street down there, there's the Sears. It's not going to be there very much longer. You know, these big anchor stores in the mall, not working anymore because they've been superseded by the digital era and the ability to deliver to your door. Okay. On the other hand, somebody somewhere has to fix the roads. Somebody has to bring electricity into the house, the business, to power up your electrical car. Somebody needs to bring in the plumbing. So for instance, if we're going to move away from natural gas, that means we've become more dependent on electricity. And then we have to deal with the outages based on other kinds of things. There's a big move now. Many people have heard of the term called makerspace. They've realized they've lost so much hands-on ability. They want to bring it back outside of the regular school districts, because school districts are pretty much, for the most part, cut. The shop classes and what we call vocational ed. However, there's still this need because young people need it. And I mean, that sounds redundant, but this need based on, you know, if 30% or 33% of people acquire a university degree, you still have 2/3 who have no job skills right out of high school. I think that's something we have to work on.
Mr. Kurt Hahn.
Well, I agree with Joe because I'm not a psychologist, but you have the people who can do it all here. They can do it all mentally. Give them a screwdriver, they'd hurt themselves. I'm not being sarcastic. They can do it here, but they can't do it. Then you got those who are the hands-on people who learn by the doing, the making, the creation, but they struggle here. Most people are somewhere in between. And when you have 25 to 30% of your people, which hasn't changed in the last 150, 200 years, who have bachelor's degrees and have been, what do you do with the other 80% or 30% who, like Joe says, you need somebody to fight the fires, bring the electricity in, fix the roads, maintain the structure. And those hands-on people are, for a lot of times, are the ones who are making stuff happen because they can build it, they can create it. You know, and we're losing that skill. I think we really are losing that skill. You said earlier we had three professionals. Actually, you have 2 professionals and 1 retired guy who's just rebelling. But and one of the reasons I retired was like put down shop teachers and put down shop classes because everybody's going to college, and you can only fight that for so long, you know. Anyway.
So you found it a bit
Hey.
demoralizing then. Okay, gentlemen, it's open-ended.
Well, it's interesting to go through, you know, the points, because I think we all bring some very, very interesting points. First, that hands-on is so critical, and especially in my point in education, because one of the main things that the tech is always focused on is the fact that you need to have those hands-on skills to be able to resolve and learn those skills that you have mentally to be able to overcome a lot of the challenges that come through. So it's not just intellectual capacity, but it's the hands-on capacity of being able to work. And then on top of that, it's the social part of it. So there's, you know, 3 components that I look at is first the physical component, secondly, the social component, and the last is the intelligence component, the mental component. Each one is so important in our ability to be able to work in the world. And it all has a very important part in it. And that's where I see tech, or, and I keep on calling it tech only because it's changed, shop portions of it, where we learn. The other part is, again, the apprenticeship part of it, which is part of both the social aspect and then the hands-on training that we haven't, that we're losing. Apprenticeship, that's been lost completely, right? In this industry, you know, my actual focus in industry is in the print industry. I came up and worked and learned in the print industry, had my apprenticeship, worked up, I'm, you know, senior management, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, it was a craft that now is being changed into a technology moving forward. And those are the changes that we have to understand and change and adapt to, as one of my alumni friends, colleagues has indicated, so that adaptation and to move forward. But we cannot lose the hands-on training that has to happen, even though we have, you know, Google to say, hey, Google, how do you do this? And it tells it to you on a screen. That personal interaction is so critical.
May I follow on, Manuel, with that? All right. We have, at this point in time that we're speaking, we've had this big hurricane in Louisiana, Texas. And so here's an article off of the newspaper, how the electricity is going to be out for weeks. Okay. And then as of Sunday, there's this death toll. But the interesting thing about this is that more people were killed by inhaling carbon monoxide than were killed by the hurricane.
Right.
And so that's well, yeah, I do not want to speak evil of the dead. On the other hand, somebody somewhere did not know enough to put the generator outside so the carbon monoxide level would not build up and asphyxiate people.
Yep.
Okay, those are basic skills we once taught at the high school level. We don't do that now. I have no idea who the people are. They may have come here from another country trying to find success. They end up in a bad situation and now they're gone. And then the bigger picture of restoring the utilities. There are not enough craftspeople with the skills to go out there and put back up what was knocked down. Even if, let's say, for instance, a lot of the areas have underground utilities. Still, if part of the house was blown over where the utilities came in, it's got to be renewed. And you know, it could be a matter of adaptation, but I still think these essential skills are needed throughout the country. So that there is a perfect example. And then there are dozens and dozens. So for instance, if we want to translate vehicles from internal combustion that produces the pollution to electric vehicles, then we're going to need to bring in more electrical service. We're going to need to dig more stuff out of the ground. We're going to have to do a lot more mining. We're going to need people to do that work, and it doesn't require a university degree.
Yep, agreed.
Mr. Hahn?
Well, I have my shop teacher page on Facebook has now 300 members, literally all over the U.S. and Canada internationally. And you have teachers now in rural parts of the country who are teaching shop classes, everything from home repair to woodworking to metal, agriculture, because A, they're limited by space and distance, and two, those are essential skills to survive when your nearest repair place is, 300 miles that way. You know, you don't just get out in the store and buy a new object because it's 400 miles that way. And you can go to Google, but I can't tell you the number of times you go to Google and the first answer that pops up is wrong. And Abraham Lincoln said that we're going to flying saucers to Mars to mine for Jello. Somebody's going to believe it because by God, it's on Google. And I mean, I'm not making fun of Google, but I've seen high school kids do that.
I think there needs to be an essential part of the high school that sets kids up for a trade, some kind of employment immediately after high school. I think if we cut all that back, even what's been cut so far, and it's random, like for instance, in the urban areas, like where I am, the shop classes are almost all gone. The spaces have been repurposed. All the equipment is out the door. It went to the auction. Other places in the country where they make food, these shop and vocational classes are important. And so they still have value at the high school. But where my high school is here, it's become more of a training center for intellectual studies. It's like more intellectual studies. So they learn now how to become intellectuals so they can go and get more after that. And then possibly after the university, they can get a job. What if the kid at the age of 17 or 18 realizes he or she doesn't want that? They just don't want it. What do we do for them? Yeah. And I'd like to take it to the next level. And so if those of you who are in the audience understand this problem, what do we do about it now? How do we deal with this lack of, it's not a matter of respect. What's another word? This lack of insistence on these kinds of skills? Who's got a better word for that?
Well, that's one of the things that we've been looking at, why transitioning, changing, adapting the technologies that we have to make sure that first the students that are going through have the hands-on skills to be able to actually jump into it the moment they came out of school. And the feedback that we get from those that both go into college to the next level or go to work is exceptional because they're prepared to actually, hit the road running, if you want to call it. But the fact is that, especially in the United States, things have changed so radically that, like you said, a lot of those needs were lost. And I just kind of go through and study and think about it. And we're going through another transition stage. I still remember in print, when technology started to come in, typesetting for one, linotypes, everything was typeset by hand. You had a team of about 9, 10, 15 people sometimes to get one page of production that got printed because it just took so many people to prepare it, read it, check it, make it through. Once the technology came to the fact that you had one computer that did most of that, you saw so many errors because that one person didn't have the capacity, nor did the computer have the capacity to fix everything or to catch. So eventually things started to move around, and now we have some of those things coming back. I see the same thing right now. We're going through the transition. First, of the fact that we went outside our country to prepare and do a lot of things. Now that they're coming back, we're not prepared to be able to deal with them. And even more, we went so far that even the things that we have currently here, as you were indicating, those needs of electricians to fix the disasters they're going through, it's an area that we're starting to fall short. There is a number of reports out saying that we're short the technical skills to be able to accomplish the things that we need. So consequently, we're always looking to bring more people in from the outside because, our foreign experts know more than we do, and we're looking to bring more people from other countries to take care of those issues that we have here. So it's extremely important to get these technologies or these shops back in place.
You guys remind me of a situation here where, piggybacking on what Manuel is saying, is we import persons that are skilled on how to do this. I'm sure that Manuel brings in a 10-year-old to use his hands-on experience to fix his stuff for him, whether it be his phone or computer. I'm definitely in the same boat myself. So we're importing our own kids to bring their hands-on skills to fix our stuff for us. I mean, it sounds sort of bizarre, but we just don't know how to fix these things.
Well, take it to a next level. That's what I would call high technology, electronic, push button, digital, Ethernet, whatever. Okay, let's take aircraft mechanics, all right? Here's a Bureau of Labor Statistics. Mean salary of aircraft mechanics, $64,000. That's not starting. That's maybe 5-8 years in the business. Some of these people are making close to 6 figures or more because the demand is so high, we haven't put the young people out with the precursor skills. You don't jump into aircraft mechanics. You have to understand mechanical aptitude. You have to understand how materials works. You have to understand how solids compress and stretch. If you're going to machine some aluminum and it starts getting up in temperature, you have to account for that. Otherwise, you put that part in the airplane. I wouldn't want to be in that airplane, but it's got to start early. And I'm talking 7th, 8th, 9th grade to get this mechanical aptitude, hands-on brain, eye, body, cognitive thing put together so they can go to the next step, which is get into aircraft mechanics. And I can apply that all across the trades throughout the world. And so taking it to the next step. Now, I'm not talking about how do we get back shop class? How do we get back a form of education that's useful for young people? Men, women, whatever, something useful, okay? So I don't really need to hijack the discussion, but how do we get there now? How do we move into that space from where we are?